We are on, man. What is going on with everybody? It's your boy Eric, aka Young God, coming to you live in the Orange Dungeon today, man. Getting into your real raw rugged, and got somebody on the other line, man. I'm gonna let him introduce himself. Who we got, man?
Man, it's your boy Violent Bob Ross, Luis Pena, UFC fighter, UFC lightweight. Just came off a fight here October 12th in Tampa Bay.
Hey, man. How you doing today?
Good, man, good.
We're gonna start off right, man. You got robbed. You definitely won that fight. I just want to start it off completely right. You whooped that nigga ass. I don't know what they was looking at,
Boy!
but you put the paws on that young man right there, man. You put the knees on him too, man. You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
You was getting him right. So yeah, let's just start off with that real quick, man. Because I wasn't gonna start off with that, but you brought it up. Why didn't they award you that fight? Do you think it was because bro was in his hometown?
in my eyes, there's no other way to put it. It was a good fight. It was a tough fight. Kid's tough. I mean, he's a real tough fighter. Don't be wrong. He stuck in there and he lasted through a lot of damage that I put him through. But without a doubt, I think I beat the hell out of him. I think I won that fight, and I think the only reason he was able to walk out of there with his hand raised is because we were in his hometown.
It was almost like they awarded him for being a crash test dummy. Cause like bro like survived getting beat up, and I guess it was like, hey man, you got your ass whooped. Let's get a man to fight. That's what it almost felt like, man. So that was crazy, man. But I just want to let you know, personally watching that, I think you definitely won that 2-1. I think you definitely got two of those rounds clearly.
I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate that for real.
Is this your first time like in your professional career that you felt like you really deserved to win a fight? Or not even
Without a doubt.
professional career, but just amateur, professional, just everything combined together.
Nah, I'll say this is the first time that in my entire career, my entire fighting career, and I had a 50 plus fight amateur career across boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. This is the first time I've ever felt like they completely robbed me of a decision.
Mm.
Well, actually, no. There was a one professional boxing match I had where I feel like I was robbed of a decision as well. But this was even worse.
And you know it's crazy. I seen a lot of people saying like, "Oh, he stormed out like a baby or whatever." Hey, I reacted worse than you, man. I was like, "Man, what is this?" I was like, "Man, what is going on?" So I feel like people who's never played competitive sports don't really understand like when you lose something that you felt like you should have won, you react emotionally because we emotional people. So I don't know. I feel like that's people that's never really had to be in an emotional athletic moment before saying that.
Man, it's not only that, but people don't understand. Like, this is my job. This is how I put food on the table. You know what I mean? Like, to sit there and feel as though you did everything to win, you dominated the fight, and then to get it taken away from you, to essentially get food taken out of your mouth by people that don't fight, that haven't been in your position, and have no real arbitrary reason why. It's of course I'm going to react emotionally.
That's interesting you say like people that's never been in fighting before because I'm a huge NFL fan. And right now in the NFL, the big controversy is that the refs suck. The refs are terrible. The referees usually in every sport don't really play or never really play the sport that they're refing before. They just learned about it through refereeing school or whatever. So do you ever like now like before this judgment that happened upon you, did you ever believe that like I don't know ex fighters or people who like a Herb Dean, those are the people that should have been judges, or do you think that they're right like people that's never fought before being judges?
No, I believe 100%. I'll say I think you should have one person who is an outside observer, essentially that may not know too much about the sport, because then you have that like that casual, like, all right, that guy, you're gonna have that casual opinion out there anyway. So then to have that casual opinion in the judge's eye, that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But I believe a majority of the judges should be experts and should have had experience somewhere in fighting going into that.
Now, why do you think that? Because I know a lot of people would say the opposite. So if you had to like present this to like a committee, what would be your reasoning for the people to have like some type of background in fighting?
So, in my opinion, the reason we need that is because there are so many variables that go into an MMA fight. There are so many variables that surround the MMA fight, and to have no clue about what those variables can be, and to have no idea about how they can affect the fight, I think that does a disservice to the sport. That does a disservice to every athlete that steps in the octagon.
Mm. I definitely would agree with you. And I kind of want to take a step back because, like I said, I jumped ahead of myself. I wanted to start from the beginning of like, how did you even get into amateur wrestling? Like, what was the appeal to amateur wrestling to you?
So man, I remember the biggest appeal for me for wrestling. I started out my athletic career in football, and I
What
remember
position?
I was a cornerback and a wide receiver and a backup quarterback. Played a lot of. I played football all my life actually until I got into wrestling. And the biggest decision for me was the fact that like I was a tall. I've always been tall and skinny, so I was like I remember around my I was eighth. I started wrestling when I was in eighth grade, and that was actually the first year we got wrestling at our schools in Arkansas. So I heard about wrestling, and I heard like it's all weight based, and the one factor that really like sold me on wrestling was the fact that they told me the coaches can't play favorites. They can't just put whoever they want into a position because you go man to man with whoever's in your spot, in your weight class. It's whoever's the best at that weight, and that was for me. That was the most appealing aspect. It was like, so you're telling me like the coach just can't say, all right, well, I want that guy to go wrestle 119 just because I like it. It's like, no, y'all are going to wrestle, see who's the best, and the winner of that match goes and gets to represent the school.
So in football, did you feel like you were being slighted for like favoritism?
Oh, without a doubt, without a doubt. The school I went to, where I grew up in, is kind of known for being somewhat of a racist town,
Mm.
and you could definitely tell that there were favorites played in that regard. Catch my drift. I don't want to say I was being discriminated against, but at the same time, it's like you're one of the best. You're one of the best guys on the team, and you're never really getting played. You never get put in, and then when you get put in, they're never really throwing the ball. It's all like I was just over putting in work and then not seeing anything out of it.
I mean, no, I like I said, the position that you just named, you saying that you were a cornerback and a wide receiver. In like football history, those are predominantly like black. You know what I'm saying? So if I went to one of the games and I see a bunch of white boys, I see the black boy on the bench, I'm like, that nigga must be trash. If he got the white boys in front of him, I would have been, that nigga was, but if I see you playing, I'm like, whoa. So I think, and you're an athletic dude. Like I said, I've seen you fight before. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it was definitely something racist going on in the works over there.
Without a doubt, and it was it was like a situation where it was actually kind of known that the coaches do have those biases.
And it's interesting you said that because I was just having a conversation with my homeboy today. We were talking about Arkansas, out of all places, and we were having a debate: is Arkansas really the South or not? So you being, from Arkansas, is it the South?
Oh, 100%.
It is,
Arkansas is the South,
really.
without a doubt. I would say Arkansas is the border. Like we're that last state. You know what I'm saying? Arkansas is the South, though. The way I grew up, yeah, I'm a Southern boy.
Really? Okay,
Yeah, without a
okay.
doubt.
Because he was saying it was the South. I was like, bro, I don't know if Arkansas is the South, but I don't know. Like, wait, to you, what makes a state South to you? Like, what makes it Southern to you? You said you grew up real like country Southern. Like, what makes it Southern to you?
It's the culture, man. The culture that surrounds it. Cause like, there's no like, if you grew up in the South, there's no other way. There's no other place around. Cause I live in California now, and there's just something about the people, man. The people in the South, they're just so much warmer. They're so much more like open. You go around here in California, you just like I'm the kind of person like if I bump into someone, I say excuse me. I say yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am. If I walk in front of someone at the store, I say excuse me, and then here I almost always get a dirty look in return. Whereas like in the South, it's always, oh, excuse us, bless your heart, all that kind of stuff. So it's like you get that. Then it's also, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. There was I grew up just and experienced just as much racism as anyone else can say they did in any other deep Southern state. And I don't necessarily feel like that makes it a part of the South, but that's definitely, you can't lie. That's a byproduct of being a person of color in the South.
No, I'm from Florida, so I'm much in the South as well. And I went to LA for my first time in August. And yeah, man, it's a different place. It's definitely a different place. Like I'm walking around, and first of all, everybody has an AirPods. So they're not even paying attention to anything that's going around.
No, exactly. No one's paying attention to anything around them.
Different.
No one has any consciousness of what's going on around them. And really, no one really cares about anybody else unless what you can do for them.
But it felt so fake, and that's exactly how you explained it. Like it felt, I could feel the, like in Florida, I could feel the authenticness. Like if somebody doesn't like me, I'm gonna feel that. In LA, I'm really not sure if you don't like me or not. You know what I'm saying? Like it's really, I don't know. Like transitioning from Arkansas to like California, has it been like kind of like a culture shock?
No, no, I wouldn't say it's like a culture shock. I'm a very like I don't know. I don't really know the term to use it, but I'm very good at sliding in and just fitting in wherever I go.
Mm.
But it's one of those things where like you definitely notice the difference in culture from one place to another,
Nah,
and it's
that's
just about adapting to it. You know what I mean?
I thought you were from LA because I seen a video of you dancing to the SOBRB dudes, and I was like, oh, this is definitely, or it's definitely LA nigga. You was, and I was like, okay, this is an LA nigga right here. So it was definitely
Yeah.
surprising to see you was from Arkansas, and I kind of want to talk about that. Before I do that, I kind of want to talk about, because I think I understand what's going on with you, but your like background, like your ethnicity and like what you're mixed with and whatnot.
So I was actually, so this is a crazy thing. I was born in Naples, Italy, to
Hmm.
parents in the Navy, and then I was adopted. But my dad's black. You know what I mean? He's darkest nigga, one of the darkest niggas I've ever met.
I think you put it on Instagram. You met him or whatnot, right? Yeah, I seen that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Last year, so that was the craziest thing. It's like that, after 25 years, we finally met, and like right after my UFC debut through Ancestry.com, it was crazy. Um, and my mom, she's mixed. She's like Native American. She's got Hispanic, Italian, a whole bunch of other stuff in her. You know what I mean? Um, but and that's where I get like the red, the color in my hair, and like the lightness is from her, but the texture and everything comes from him. And then when it comes to, like, my adopted parents, my adopted father was Puerto Rican, and then my adopted mother was white, and they ended up getting divorced when I was like 3, and that's how I ended up getting raised in Arkansas. Is when we were like 5, we moved back to America and lived in Florida for a little while, and then she moved in with her relatives in Arkansas. And from there, we just stayed in Arkansas for the rest of my life.
Where you live? Where you live at in Florida?
Uh, Sanford,
Sanford. Okay.
you know where that
Okay.
is.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
And then I went to my junior year in high school. I lived in Deltona.
Mm, okay. And you said something interesting. You say you did Ancestry.com. Now, I'm not gonna lie. Definitely very weary about using Ancestry.com. So I want you to tell me your experience with Ancestry.com because I don't know. I'm a little on the edge about using that.
So I don't necessarily know about all of like I'm this percent that percent this when it comes to the Ancestry.com thing. I will say this though, it's a great resource for finding people that you might like, people you may have never met and may have never known existed out there, because it's don't like, as a child of adoption, you always wonder, who those people are, and that was probably one of the driving questions of my life for the past 25 years. And then I remember it was really ironic. About 2 weeks before I ended up getting the match with the guy that ended up becoming my dad, I got a match with the closest match I had ever gotten with anybody on Ancestry.com. It was like a first cousin. and so we started talking, and then like eventually she was starting to give me like a bunch of details to piece everything together. And then out of like literally right as I'm starting to kind of like slowly figure things out of nowhere, I ended up just getting a match with this dude. And if you go through like when you uh, when you do your ancestry DNA, they and you like you can compare profiles of someone that you have a DNA match with. They give you like what they like a predicted relationship, like how you guys would be related,
Mm.
and it said parent child, and then
Your
not
heart
only
must have
that,
like dropped when you seen that.
oh dude, you have no clue. So, but the great thing about it is it's like at the very bottom of the page. So I'm like scrolling through, and our DNA markers are lining up in all the ones, like all the African DNA markers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like all the exact ones. And then when I get down to that last one, it says parent child. I had no, like, I was dumbfounded. I had no clue what to think about that. Because it was crazy. I was actually in the process of driving from, I actually lived in St. Louis at the time, but I was driving from St. Louis to California. I was in like Denver, Colorado at the time when I got the email. And I remember just like my one of my best friends was with me, and I remember just like turning to him. I showed him the email, and I showed him everything, and he was like, "Oh my god, dude!" And so from there, we started messaging each other, and before we like really decided, all right, we're father and son, we started asking each other questions, and like I realized he was my dad when he asked, like, there was, I forgot what the question even was, but he asked me a certain question, and it was like there's nobody that could possibly know to even ask that question, you know what I mean,
Yeah.
than him.
That's crazy.
I know, right?
That's crazy.
Insane.
That's crazy. And I have like a lot of like biracial friends. I have a lot of like people that's like white and black. And I always ask them the question. I'm really interested. But you're the first person I ever met that's white and black who's also adopted. So adopted by people that's from different races. So I'm really curious, like, not being raised by black people. Did you ever find like how can I put it? Did you ever find like I don't know, like a sense of like your black side like lost, or like did you ever feel like I don't know, like not being raised with black people, did you not feel like a part of the culture or whatever?
It's funny that you would ask that because I've never felt that, but I've had I've had other black people try and force that upon me.
Hmm.
But it goes back to where I was raised. In the town I was raised, it was like a very wasn't there wasn't a very big black population. I remember when I was in high, like the last year I was there for my freshman year of high school, and then I moved. Um, I want to say I was one half of about 12 and a half black kids at the high school.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So there wasn't a big community, but we stuck together. And I never, because of that, my best friend growing up, he was one of the only other black kids in the elementary school that I went to. So like growing up, I was never not around the culture. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? I was always entrenched in it, even though I was raised by a white lady.
So do you like have you ever felt that like I don't know, like being around certain black people and they say something or they're talking about something, do you ever feel left out, or are you always just like, feel like you're in place?
No, not at all. Cause like I mean, I didn't have the best childhood growing up. There were a bunch of times when my mom may not have been able to provide Thanksgiving, and I would go over to my best friend's house. So like I've been to
Mm.
a black, I've been through the black Thanksgiving. I've been through all of that stuff. You know what I mean? It's like I don't feel as though I missed out on anything like that growing up. Like my best friend's mom was essentially like my mom.
Yeah. So it felt like you had a black mom in that sense.
Without a doubt.
That's cool. Nah, like I said, I'm very intrigued about just like the black people in MMA because I feel like there's like especially like because I can't find a lot of them, but there's not a lot of like interviewers who are in the MMA realm that are black. I feel like almost all of them are white. Like I'm looking at your interviews, I'm like, damn, gotta be one brother trying to interview this man. I see everybody white.
I know what you mean. There's not a lot of there's just there's not a lot of black um, presence in that realm of MMA without a doubt.
Do you ever like? I don't know. I mean, because like you said, when you're growing up in elementary, when you see that black person, it's like you gotta stay close. Like, oh, it's another one of me. So like when you do see that rare black person, is it like, oh man, like this is, what I'm saying? Like, let me talk to him. Does it feel like that?
I mean, you try not to out of stereotypes, but yeah, you do. It's like I train at AKA, and you can see it like all the black members of AKA. We kind of all congregate together. We all stick together. Don't get me wrong, we interact with everybody else. Like we're not just closed off. It's not like it's not cliquey there.
Yeah.
But we all like we're always joking with each other. We always got our own like little inside jokes. It's the black community type thing. You know what I'm saying?
No, that's real good to hear because I seen a video where yeah, like I seen a video of like Cormier. I think he was like y'all like roast each other one time or whatnot. So I definitely see like you guys have that type of connection or whatnot.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Is there any type of like I don't know like racism you ever felt while in the UFC, or not in UFC,
No,
but just in the MMA realm at all?
That is, I'll say that's the one thing I've truly loved about my time as an MMA fighter, from the time I was an amateur to the time now that I'm in the UFC, is I have never once felt discrimination or or racism at all, really, when it comes to matchmaking or anything, or like just like on the fight side of things. Don't get me wrong. Have I met people that I think might have those beliefs?
Yeah.
Have I dealt with it in like my own personal relationships with people when it comes to like gyms and stuff? Yeah. But when it comes to like the business side of things and how I feel as though like my career is gone, not at all. And that's one of the aspects I truly love about MMA in general is like it's a very all encompassing sport.
That's fire, and then it definitely helps for somebody like you that's really talented at what they do. So people are just gonna love you regardless. And like me looking at you fight, like I just have to like I always say it in my mind because you have like you said you're a skinny guy, you're tall. Like always think like, can you play basketball? Because you got a real basketball build.
I do have that basketball build. I'm not a baller though. I mean, I can drive. I can drive to the hoop and dunk. That's about it. And I'm pretty good on defense. I got decent handles as well, but I'm not a shooter.
So you can do everything but shoot, but you can drive.
Yeah, no, without a doubt.
Hey man, I'm gonna have to come back to California, give you some buckets, man. You never know, man. I might have to dunk on you, man. You know what I'm saying, man?
Hey, as long as you can teach me how to get it, I'll do
it. Have you ever got dunked on before?
Dunked on?
Yeah.
No.
Oh man, that's embarrassing. Like I don't know if you ever seen that in person, but man, it's embarrassing. Man.
Oh, trust me, I have.
That's an embarrassing.
Whenever I go back home and I coach, I help coach my old high school team. We always somehow we always end up getting into a little game of hoops, and that's one of my favorite things, is dunking on high school kids.
That's hilarious. No, man, like I said, yeah, you definitely just like I said, you're definitely just like a unique person, and you got like the unique look of you got the Bob Ross thing going on. And I'm very curious, are you thinking about like growing it out? I think you should grow it out just ignorant. I think you should just like have like the most ignorant fro. Like I feel like you should just go crazy with it.
No, that's the plan, man. That's the plan. Is just let it grow. Just let it get ridiculous. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to. I haven't cut my hair in like 3 years. I'm not trying to do it anytime soon.
And then I see you get a little clean with it. I see you get a little tape up on the, what I'm saying, on the beard.
Oh, every now and then. But I have this thing now where it's like, I go into when I'm outside of fights, I try to keep myself clean. As you can see, I haven't been able to hit the barber shop since the fight. But when I'm outside of fights, I keep myself clean. But as soon as I sign that contract, that's the last time I keep myself clean. I go in that fight like a caveman.
Hey man, that's why I got this bind on right now, man. I got no tape up right now, man. You know what I'm saying? I don't got no type of tape up, man. So I definitely
I
feel you.
feel you.
But not like when like talking about like being clean or whatnot. That just makes me think of relationships because I always wondered this with people who do like combat fighting. Like I don't know if you've been in a relationship or ever been in a relationship while doing any type of MMA, but does it ever, if you have, does it ever like get in the back of your mind like oh I want to like I don't know, does it put pressure on you to perform better knowing that your girl is watching, you don't want to see her you don't, she doesn't want to see you get hurt, you don't want to, you know what I'm saying, like does it ever put any pressure on you?
I actually had a girlfriend for a year and a half in my pro career. Not really, man. It really, you'd be surprised. Maybe I just didn't meet the right chick yet. Maybe
Mm.
I haven't. Um, but I felt no extra pressure from it.
Really?
It was always great to have that extra cheerleader out there and to have that extra person come up to you and console you when you lose, or console, or there to help celebrate when you win. But no, I've always felt pretty. I've never put extra pressure on myself because of it. I'm actually one of those, like, when it comes to that whole pressure and everything. I've always been one of those guys that rises to the occasion. Anyway.
Mm. Well, on the flip side of that, I feel like every real nigga has done this before because I've done this plenty of times. Been playing basketball, it's like a fine girl in the crowd, you're like damn she is fine, I'm finna ball my ass off, you looking like Michael Jordan, you going between the legs, you know what I'm saying? So have you ever been in a cage and like front row, you like damn she is fine, I'm gonna knock this nigga out. You just like go extra hard.
Oh, so it's never been something like that. But there's so the probably the most viral knockout I have is my professional kickboxing debut. I hit this guy with a switch flying knee, like broke his jaw and sent him to the shadow realm. And like right after I did that, I'm like looking around, I got my hands up, and I saw this fine ass chick like front row. I hopped up onto the ropes and I just like blew a kiss to her. And I remember, like, I was like, yeah, that was for you. And like ever since then, man, I've always kind of like made sure I kind of take in the front row, the first couple rows, just to make sure there ain't no honeys.
Hey, what I didn't know, man, I feel like it'd be a lot of bad girls in the UFC events. Like I wouldn't think it would be, but it'd be some baddies at the UFC events, bro. Like that's
Some real
surprising to me because
bad.
I feel like I don't know. I feel like UFC is huge, but I didn't think it was to the point where it reached like bad girl huge. You know, like the NBA is.
Right?
You know, I didn't know it reached that point yet.
No, no, without a doubt. Like, I've actually had like quite a few porn stars follow me in the past couple days. Like,
Wow.
yeah, I
Wow.
even had a couple slide in the old DMs. So I was
Oh.
just like, man, all right, the baddies are here. Like, it's happening.
Well, I interview a lot of porn stars, so probably know someone that's sliding your DMs. That's the funny part about it. I probably know someone that's sliding your DMs. That's the wild part about it. But hey, I don't want to keep it for too long. I'm gonna ask some fan questions that I got. We'll get right out of here, man.
I bet.
Shout out. I think World One asked this. I should have wrote it down, but he said ask him about his teammate Jermaine Durandamy upcoming fight with Nunes and his thoughts on that fight.
Oh, that's interesting. Jermaine actually doesn't train with us anymore, but just being a fan of MMA, I can give my thoughts on that fight. I think it's a really interesting matchup. I think a lot of people are probably counting out Durandamy because Nunes is the GOAT. She is
Yeah.
without a doubt the greatest woman of all time. I think this has the makeup for a really, really fun fight, or this could be another slaughtering by the lioness.
Mm. Yeah, that's when is that scheduled for?
I believe that's 2:45 on December 14th.
Okay, okay, that should be a goodie. Um, Gosh, I cannot find who asked these questions, but we'll find it afterwards. But somebody asked me your thoughts on the BMF title and the upcoming, the Jorge fight, and like, what's your thoughts on that whole thing?
So I love the fight. I think this is probably one of the best fights on paper that the UFC could put together when it comes to fan-friendly fights.
Yeah.
Something like between two guys that you know are going to go out there and just bang. Now, when it comes to like the BMF title, I hate to hate or I hate to sound like a hater at all, but I don't necessarily feel there's a need for it.
Mm.
I feel as though this fight alone sells itself, but at the same time, I can't hate on Nate Diaz for speaking that into existence. Like, there was never going to be this BMF thing, and then all of a sudden he makes a post-fight speech, and bam, like they're getting awarded a belt. So my hats off to Diaz for being able to be the businessman that he is to pull that off.
I mean, and like you said, some people don't like it, some people like it, but the fact that it's even sparking conversation where people are debating if it should be there, if it shouldn't be there, like you said, that's just a good business marketing strategy for him right there.
And not only that, but and you know, some people are going to disagree with me on this, but I think that the added publicity of having The Rock involved with, you know, crowning whoever wins the belt is only good for the UFC and only good for the publicity of the UFC. But like, let's be real, The Rock is probably one of, if not the most famous actor out right now.
That's a thing. I really didn't know that was happening. The Rock is.
You didn't know that? So yeah, The Rock, instead of Dana White, The Rock is going to be the one that presents the belt to the winner.
That's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. Damn, like that's news to me. Like that's really big. That's big for the UFC. That's big for MMA in general, but that's big.
Exactly.
That's
exactly.
Big,
that's huge. That's huge because not only is that going to get coverage by, you know, MMA media and sports media, that's going to get coverage from just regular media in general. That's going to be everybody's going to talk about that.
That's great. Yeah, that's going to be like even sometimes like not all the time UFC makes Sports Center. That's on Sports Center for sure. The Rock
without
is
a doubt.
Yeah, that's some good stuff right there. I definitely didn't know that. And then last question, I forgot to ask this because I was really interested. Speaking of basketball again, like I said, I like to play basketball a lot, and I really like when I see people with high basketball IQ. Somebody like you, I would say, has very high fighting IQ, but I was not for sure how does somebody build high fighting IQ. I know how you build high basketball IQ, but specifically, how did you gain such high IQ for fighting?
Man, there's only one real way to do it. That's fight. It's like I said, I fought probably 50 plus times as an amateur before I ever stepped into the cage as a professional. And that was across boxing, kickboxing, and MMA. So, like, I have a pretty extensive background in not just fighting as an MMA fighter, but fighting as a boxer, fighting as a kickboxer, like fighting Muay Thai. So, like, I would say that just like in basketball, how do you gain your basketball IQ? How do you increase that? Pickup games. You're constantly out there shooting. You're constantly out there drilling your shots. You're constantly out there just drilling your handles. It's the same thing. You go out there, and that's what an amateur career is supposed to essentially be, is pickup fights. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You go out there, you fight, you figure out what you did wrong in those fights, and you fix it. You go forward, you do another fight. Maybe you might be able to put it all together in the gym, and your problem is just getting past the lights of the spectacle of the actual show. And that's all a part of building your fight IQ.
That's interesting. Hey man, and I can't help but ask because you say you play football as well. You ever concerned about CTE or any type of like brain stuff? Because like that's a scary thing, and I know like that's kind of like people are still researching like all the effects on that, but it's a real thing.
Not necessarily. I mean, I hate to sound cocky, but I keep my hands up. I don't eat a lot of shots, and the shots that I do, there's almost always a hand in the way, or it's always glancing. I'd say Matt Frevola is probably one of the first people that ever hit me square in a professional fight. Like he actually busted my lip, and that's probably the only time I've ever actually been made to bleed or ever even really kind of got hit really, really like squarely. So it's not that I don't think it's a problem. Like, yeah, it's a problem. It's gonna affect me eventually. Like, I probably will end up seeing some effects of CTE. Like, that's just the nature of fighting. But
Yeah.
I feel as though the way you fight and how you approach your defenses, it shouldn't necessarily be as big of a problem.
Hey man, I enjoyed talking to you. Is there anything else you got to say before we get out of here?
Oh man, I just want to. First of all, I appreciate you reaching out to get me on and doing this. Second, I just want to say I love and thank all my fans for their continued support. Everyone that's reached out to tell me how they feel I was robbed, or just to show their support. I really truly appreciate it. It's hard sometimes to be able to get back to everybody and to respond to everybody, especially like I'm starting to grow a following and everything. But it's something I truly do appreciate. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Violent Bob Ross. Uh, that's about it, man. I appreciate you having me on again.
Hey, for the people watching, I know a lot of people like wonder like, how are these people like you? Cool guy. So if you're wondering if this guy's a cool guy, I emailed him for the interview. He said, yeah, hit me up, man. He wasn't like, oh, what about this right here? He was just straight to the point, man. So if you guys want to support a real dude, go support the Violent Bob Ross himself. And until next time, I say what I mean what I say. Haters are gonna hate, players are gonna play, and you guys.